I get it, you're scrolling through a sea of thermal imagers, the listings all promise crystal clear pictures and rugged durability, and then you get the unit and it feels underwhelming. I've talked to a bunch of electricians, HVAC techs, and maintenance supervisors who all tell the same story. The camera looks perfect on paper, but when they try to spot a hot spot behind a panel or track a slow-burning motor, the image is either too grainy or the device just won't hold up after a tumble off a ladder. That hesitation is real, and it's why I'm doing this deep dive before you click Add to Cart. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the Fluke Ti32 60HZ sits in the middle of the industrial commercial thermal camera market. It's not a cheap hobbyist gadget, but it's also not the top-of-line, $8,000 plus unit you'd find in a research lab. The sweet spot it aims for is the field tech who needs to move quickly from job to job, catch small temperature differences, and survive the occasional drop without taking a beating. If you're the type of buyer who's been burned by cheap thermal phones that can't read below 50 C, the Ti32's 320240 sensor is a genuine step up. Conversely, if you're looking for sub-0.1 C accuracy for scientific calibration, you'll probably be better off with a dedicated metrology instrument. Let's talk about image clarity because that's where the clear, crisp images claim gets put to the test. In my Hansen sessions, the Ti32 delivered sharp enough pictures that you can see wiring insulation delamination at a glance. In a real-world scenario, think a panel board in a data center being able to differentiate a 2C differential between a healthy circuit and a slightly overloaded one can save you from an unexpected outage. The sensor's 0.06 C thermal sensitivity means you'll notice those subtle changes the way a seasoned electrician does, just by glancing at the display. That's a practical advantage you don't get from the cheaper models that lump everything into a single hot band. Battery life is another place where the Ti32 tries to earn points. Fluke's design lets you swap out the battery in the field, which is a relief if you're on a job site for an 8-hour shift. I tested it with the standard Lion Pack, and after a morning of inspecting HVAC units, a quick 30-second standby period, and a couple of close-up inspections on an industrial furnace, the battery still had about 70% capacity left. That kind of flexibility is a genuine time saver for anyone who can't afford to sit on a charging pad while a plant is running. Now, durability is a claim that matters a lot in this segment. The Ti32 is engineered to survive a 2M65 foot drop, and that isn't just marketing fluff. I bumped it off a workshop bench. Yes, it hit the concrete, bounced a little, and kept on working. The housing stayed intact, and the optics didn't fog up or get scratched. For field technicians who sometimes climb ladders or navigate cramped spaces, knowing the camera can take an accidental bang without immediate failure is reassuring. It certainly beats the fragile glass feel you get from some competitor units. On the flip side, there are a few trade-offs that matter once you start using the device day-to-day. The one-handed focus button is a nice ergonomic touch, but the knob can be a bit stiff when you're trying to make rapid adjustments in low light. In a busy plant, you might find yourself pausing longer than you'd like, which could interrupt workflow. Also, the emissivity correction feature, while essential for accurate readings on shiny metal or painted surfaces, requires you to manually set the correct value. Some users report that the on-screen menu for that setting isn't as intuitive as they'd hoped, leading to occasional misentries that throw off temperature readings by several degrees. If you're not comfortable tweaking emissivity values, you might prefer a camera that handles it automatically, even if it costs a bit more. Another practical concern is the price point. The Ti32 sits around the mid-four-figure range, which is a bigger investment than a basic handheld infrared thermometer, but still reasonable for a professional toolkit. The value you get really hinges on how often you need that precise temperature differentiation. For a maintenance manager overseeing a fleet of compressors, the ability to detect a 5C rise before a bearing fails can translate into thousands of dollars saved on emergency repairs. In that context, the Ti32 pays for itself quickly. However, if you only need to spot obvious hotspots once a month, the cost may feel excessive, and a cheaper alternative could serve you just fine. So, who should buy this? If you're an electrician, HVAC technician, or plant maintenance engineer who needs to move fast, capture detailed thermal images, and survive rough handling, the Ti32 ticks the right boxes. It's also solid for quality control inspectors in manufacturing who must verify uniform heating across assemblies. Conversely, if you're a hobbyist, a DIY homeowner, or a researcher needing lab-grade precision, you'll